Hello and good day to you all on Sunday, the third day of our Voice 3 webinar. And welcome. For the third of the Transitstation Voices series, we are presenting a weekend webinar with Zoom performances incorporating projections and sound, featuring altogether 16 international artists working in various backgrounds and genres. The event has been curated, hosted, streamed, and recorded by the Transitstation team. Live events of Transitstation took place in London 2003, Berlin 2005, Edinburgh 2006, and in Copenhagen 2010. And I would like you to know that we have this objective for Transitstation Live to be in London 2023 to celebrate Transitstation 20th birthday. And it will be a live event. We will keep you updated about the development. Now, after 10 years, Transitstation has been inaugurated with a new website, transitstation.org. Over 124 international artists have become part of the Transitstation journey. And through the Voice #1, which was an international project, there has been an increase of about 50 artists from South America, Mexico, Spain, and India. The outset of the Transitstation methodology is to embrace all genres and experimentations in the fields of visual arts and performing arts. Experienced together as an entirety, and the question, can the event claim itself to become the artwork itself? Voice #3 Maneuver is part of Transitstation Voice series dedicated to maintaining the spirit of liveness in performance and live art, still exploring situations when the live artist is not present in the public this year of 2021. The maneuver is an orchestration by way of taking the risk to navigate between one's own movement in the presence of known, claimed restrictions, those margins of the two-dimensional visual screen, and the directive negotiations does not seem to leave the home at this moment, the intimate spaces, and it is limited, but also may be extended to a further environment to be explored. An environment may be disguised, reformatted, composed, and appropriated. Though the question to the consciousness remains to release and maintain the liveness. Now questioning the liveness through the virtual technologies, when engaging in the process of devising a webinar, it can be acknowledged that it is entirely possible for film and the two-dimensional screen imagery to influence our sense of reality, at least to a point. Voice 3 this weekend features 16 artists in performances in dedicating projection and sound to create liminal in-between spaces at the edges of perception. The projected image and the composed, directed, and collected digital sound creates the edges which are defined and presupposed in a live situation, and these margins of perceptions in the live situation, as we know, can stay unknown and diffused. We welcome today, on Sunday, Alexandra Holovnia from Berlin in Germany, following by Gamze Öztürk from Turkey, and she is at the residency in the Netherlands at the moment, Dimple Shaw from India, Kimbo Bumstead from the UK, London, and Leila Ghazenpour from Iran, and she's at the moment residing in the US. At the end, as we have announced yesterday, we would like to feature Tatiana Koroleva's video and she could not be here with us live in the webinar because she has fallen ill. All participating artists are being introduced individually by Charles Ryder before they start their performance. At the end of each day, we will have time to share observations, reflect, and refer to the public Q&A with discussions. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to welcome Alexandra Halovnia. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you, Dagmar, for your inspiring and limpid introduction. I would also like to welcome the artists and attendees who are with us today. Alexandra Halovnia was born in Veznia, Poland, and is based in London and in Berlin. Hold on, just adjusting my text. Hold on. She has a degree in design and a postgraduate degree in art in context from the Art University in Berlin. Working as performance artist and interdisciplinary conceptual artist, she creates costumes, sculptures, drawings, video, text, actions in public spaces, and lectures. Alexandra's work touches on taboo topics related to gender, taking a stand against discrimination based on age, sexism, and patriarchal structures. She calls for socio-political tolerance, acceptance of human rights, and freedom of sexual self-determination. In her notes for voice number 3, Alexandra writes, quote, "I am dealing with the issue of determination of women seeking release from traditional sexual roles and existing ideas of beauty. I question the discrimination based on sex imposed by the state. I am in favor of socio-political tolerance, acceptance of human rights, and freedom of sexual self-determination. With the help of my art, I fight for a world free of patriarchy in which all girls and women are liberated. My work focuses on elements symbolizing both female and male genitalia. I study social problems related to genital taboos," unquote. Ghostly Bride irritates and warns against marriage, which is often directed against women and is associated with violation of international humanitarian law. From London, this is Alexandra Halovnia's Bride.
जो भी स्क्रीन ट्राई कर
Thank you, Alexandra. That was really powerful, from the dire normalcy of the highway images to your regal gestures at the end. Wonderful. I would now like to introduce Gamze Öztürk. Gamze Öztürk is a Turkish performer, performance-based artist, focusing on live art, theater, installation, and lens-based media. Her works predominantly explore ancestral, hidden, non-verbal language practices, gender constructs, and her cultural experiences as a feminist woman through an experiment of community making. Starting with primitive times, she explores the traces of how body perception has turned into restrictive patterning. Through somatic inquiry, she uses her body as an instinctive material to expose invisible codes on women's bodies. She uses her own hair as a material symbol of the link between a woman and her female ancestors, because mitochondrial DNA within the hair shaft is only passed from a mother to her offspring. Her work today, Cyclic Traces, is a performance about the liberation of the self through breakdown of the frame. Writing about the piece, Gamze says, quote, "It engages with the cultural expectations and ideological restrictions that I confront as a woman. Mostly, we define the past as a heavy burden on our shoulders. As long as we bear this weight, the motifs of the future will be more of the same. This performance is a ritual of understanding the motifs of my past, making peace with it, and finally lifting it off my shoulders and mind. It is the healing ritual of the artist shaman who loads her past, her present, and all labels in her hair," close quote. From Turkey, here's Gamze Öztürk's performance of Cyclic Traces. Thank you, Gamsa. That was such a lyrical and measured action with your triple helix hair, and a nice setting too. We now go a bit further east to India. I would like to introduce Dimple Shaw. Dimple B. Shaw lives and works in Bangalore, India. She is a multidisciplinary artist practicing painting, printmaking, installation, and performance art. Dimple received her postgraduate degree from MS University of Baroda in 2001 and continued her studies at the Glasgow Print Studio in Scotland. She has participated in international artistic residencies in the United Kingdom at Baroda, Mumbai in India, and Karnataka Lalitkala Academy. Dimple has been honored with national and international awards, including an India Foundation for the Arts grant, the Afiri Performa International Residency in Lagos, Nigeria, a Prix d'Or at the 7th Engraving Biennale at Versailles, and many others. She has curated performance festivals, KIPAF 2016, the JAS Summit in 2017, and Basavanagudi Live Art Project. Her exhibitions include her solo shows at the Sumukha Art Gallery and Kalakriti Art Gallery. She has shown her works in Manchester Contemporary and group exhibitions, including the Dada Fest International Festival in Liverpool and Art of Lived Experiments in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dimple's piece for voice number 3 is Fragment of Self-Decoding, subtitled, Where Do I Come From? Where Do I Belong? Where Am I Going? The work derives from a fragment of self-recorded transmission of self when Dimple visited an exhibition of light-based work in London, exhibiting documented fragments of her presence. With this as a base, she will introspect on her identity and existential questions about the true self. From Bangalore, this is Dimple B. Shaw's Fragment of Self-Decoding.
I arrived somewhere near me. Where I am. Where I am. Where I am. Lost in the crowd. I slowly arriving to myself. Grasping the self. Breathing deep. Slowly. Slowly. I'm arriving to myself. Lost in the world. Lost in the crowd. Seen, not seen. The play of light and dark. The play of hide and seek. I'm arriving. I'm arriving somewhere near me. Light and dark. I love seeing myself. Love the non-presence. Non-presence. Crisscross diagonal lines of infinite space. Trying to reach trying to reach trying to reach infinite space. Is it inside our mind or is it outside in the space? If it is infinite and it needs to expand, can it expand within? I am arriving somewhere near me. The spark within or outside. Sometimes I whisper like a child and laugh at myself. I am alone. I'm alone within the crowd. Infinite finite existence around me, like small lights in the city, the spark of the city. Sometimes it's not less lost again. I'm lost again. Lost again. Sometimes I'm crazy. Seeking happiness within me. And sometimes silent. Sometimes like baby crying. I arrive somewhere near me. I arrive somewhere near me.
Thank you, Dimple, for your luminous essay on consciousness and being. I would now like to introduce Kimball Bumstead. Kimball is an interdisciplinary artist currently based in Southeast London. His work is materials-based and process-led, spanning painting, drawing, video, and performance. He works with layers and traces, mark making, and map making. Sorry, I've gone full screen here, and that means I can't see my text. Hold on, here we go. I'll back up a little bit. Kimball works with layers and traces, mark making, and map making. His projects involve an investigation of spaces and places through the lens of subjectivity and or the imagination. He is interested in how to document the essence of a place, how a place feels, or how it is imagined. His projects are usually participatory, sometimes solo, but always involve some form of connection with people and a place. Kimball is fascinated by the idea that maps are not only representations of places, but also vessels for stories, fantasies, and traces of lived experience. He uses the tools of map making to create visual art, both alone in the studio as well as in collaboration with others through workshops and participatory activities. For voice number 3, Kimball will perform a live version of Sonic Landscapes, an audiovisual journey through an imaginary landscape. The piece consists of fragments of field recordings and a map of sound drawings sent to Kimball by participants around the world. He has made a map of all the drawings of sound and made various sonic journeys through it using the recorded samples. This then from London is Sonic Landscapes live by Kimball Bumstead.
Thank you.
Hello, I am just checking to see our panelists. We're waiting for Leila. So again, let me just have a quick check to see who's here. There we go. Yes, I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break. Let's see, it's 3 minutes before the hour just now. Why don't we say that we'll rejoin you together at 5 minutes past the hour, wherever you are. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. We're back. Before we move on to Layla's performance, I just want to say a quick word to Kimball about Kimball. Beautiful Kimball. I thought I was in a real-time Cy Twombly de Kooning kind of collaboration. It was really fun. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Layla Ghazempour. Layla is a multidisciplinary artist with an emphasis in performance. Her conceptual oeuvre are in diverse media, including action and body endurance performances, as well as cine dance, site-specific dance, and movement performances, including extending to public engagement projects, photography, installations, sound, sculptures, and works on paper. Her work is intended to engage the viewer in a conflict of emotions, revulsion, fear, and awareness, conveying the themes of war's horror, the reality of human struggles, and poetry that signifies her artistic practice. Layla's performances often interact with audiences, and in general, people are part of her work, and their collaboration and interactions finish the final work. Her works question a safe place for humans, especially victims of war, violence, and life struggles. Through her performances, she reveals the displacement of places in a variety of actions and objects. She tries to bring sympathy and care of human beings for each other's for each other's pain, displacement, and loss, and also advocating the appreciation of what humans have in their life and universe. She believes that art should raise audiences' consciousness and awareness and transcend them. Joining us from Chicago to perform We Don't Have Language to Speak, Cry, or Yell, this is Layla Ghazempour.
Finished. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Layla. Thank you for your compelling and ultimately a comforting performance. As Dagmar mentioned at the beginning, we are going to feature to close out the presentations today. The background video, the projection video that Tatiana Koroleva prepared for her performance, which was scheduled for yesterday. She's graciously made the video available to us, and so we're going to have a look in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tatiana as if she were here. Tatiana Koroleva is a multidisciplinary artist and researcher who works in the mediums of performance art, video art, and creative writing. She is a graduate of the doctoral program in humanities at the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies in Society and Culture at Concordia University in Montreal, and a lecturer at the Department of Studio Arts. Tatiana's work focuses on therapeutic aspects of performance art and the process of community formation through the methods of interactive performance. Conceptually, her work engages with the subjects of ritual, transformation, of individual subjectivity, and formation of alternative models of the body and the self in the framework of ritualistic performance art. Since 2006, Tatiana has performed locally and internationally, including her participation in the Miami International Festival of Performance Art, the International Biennale of Performance Art in Santiago de Chile, the Itinerant Festival of Performance Art in New York, the International Women's Festival in Buffalo, New York, the Body Navigation International Dance Festival in St. Petersburg, and the Nuit Blanche Festival of Contemporary Art in Montreal. Her most recent performances are Rara Avis and The Bread of My Foremothers. These were presented at Queen's Museum in New York as part of liveart.us and at the Sofia International Performance Arts Festival in Bulgaria. Engaging her audience in communal action, Tatiana searches for ways to reconstruct the notion of the collective body associated with folk models of the self. She explores the possibilities of sensual communication through touch, smell, and sound to unfold the therapeutic quality of ritualistic practices. Here then from streaming, Tatiana Koroleva's fragmentation video.
Okay, we have finished for today the live virtual presentations. And thank you so much for all the artists who have given their time, their effort, and their professionalism to participate in this presentation, Voice number 3. It's quite amazing how all the days have actually delivered to us, us being witnessing the different moods and the different possibilities of being live in this virtual environment. And I was quite glad that actually Tatiana was, and thank you for being with us, though that you are not feeling so well, that we were able to show the film, which would have been your collaborative partner, visual partner in your work. And though for me, it resembled very quickly how different video work and constructed video work for presentation on the two-dimensional screen intentionally in its outset immediately shows us here on this platform, in this webinar, the for me also to encounter the different environments and to be in the diffusion of light atmospheres in a certain intimate space, which may not be defined, especially in Dimple's work, is the kind of haze that I feel that we are exploring or discovering when asking these very heavy questions that Dimple posed and Dimple gave us. So I really appreciate that, and I feel that on multiple layers, in many shifts, there was a possibility of almost diving into it and following this personal journey that you have encountered and allowed us to share when you presented your work. And there was one question that I was interested in. I would like it to pose it to you as a kind of panel or thought, is what is happening with our imagination? You know, how does the imagination function? Is it, you know, in the virtual two-dimensional experience format? Is it being fostered? Is it being compromised? Is it being saturated? Or even is it abandoned in the necessary setup that you have all gone under to present your work? And especially when Tatiana, she was saying that there is a, no, let me keep that question as it is. Okay.
I have a thought, Dagmar, just to get things started, everyone to get things started. Now that we have this, the summary experience of the 3 days, my experience of imagination throughout the Voices 3, thinking about the idea of imagination, I'm impressed with the totality of imagination. Collectivities are difficult and fleeting ideals, and I think that the extent to which people have prepared for these performances it's truly humbling, and I think speaking for myself, I'm really touched by the efforts that people have made, and I would include the the sense of imagination, because there's image making to be thinking about, there's performance to be thinking about, and there's rendering it digitally to be thinking about, and this is where we are now. My imagination was propelled to live transitstation, and today I really felt, with a couple of performances that I might speak of in the context of those performances in a few minutes, I felt a kind of transport of imagination. Maybe that's a collectivity. I don't know how you feel as individuals, as artists, as practitioners, how you would deal with a question that Dagmar posed. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Dimple.
I feel, when you had proposed, the festival proposed us to use the projectors as a no kind of backdrop, then there is a different way you have to think, because there is when you're just presenting your body in front of a camera, that is one layer. But then when we are doing with the projection, there is another layer. And practically to work out the logistic, and today I really saw what it's going to be when I'm putting both the things together, because till now I was just imagining, like, okay, this will be like a background and then I'll be here, and I, like, this is just mind mapping which happens. But just few hours back, I really got this into the space, arranged everything, and did one small trial. And so it I think it takes into a different layer when you're performing in front of a projection, and that takes you into a more imaginative way. And then at one moment I realized that I didn't think how I'll place my zoom camera, after working all that, and you have to think, layers of it. So I feel this really gave an broadening our imagination, how we are and how it is transported, how our visual imagery is kind of transported to our audience. So, to the spectator, because that will be totally different by when you're performing. And as a performance artist, we don't do any rehearsals. So you have some kind of key sketch, like, action, but then really you are doing when you're doing at that moment. So it is little, it takes you into different layer altogether.
Yeah.
When
I want to just emphasize that it's not the projection, and in all of this work, this was very clear. It's not simply a background, a background meaning from the theater. It could be an illusionary background or a utility. You actually, all of you, or the work transported that. It was a collaboration with the moving image that was there before, and that was the conversation that I feel in all of the work actually emerged. Kimbo, yes, thank you.
I'd just like to pick up on what you said about the imagination, and particularly in the context of Zoom as a platform, because I suppose one of the things that is going on in general with any sort of like social media or any sort of like internet based projection of ourselves, that there is very much this idea of presenting a particular reality that in the way that we want people to see us, and in the way that we kind of design our our image for Facebook, and the projection that we give to the world. So, and I think also with Zoom, there is this possibility of putting a virtual background, and often people put on some sort of like landscape that they like, or they pretend they're all sitting on the beach or whatever. And these are quite direct images that sort of have quite sort of specific meaning, but sometimes they can be a bit more cryptic or more personal. But nevertheless, there is this idea of like designing or curating your background, designing your the way that you want people to, maybe the way you want people to use their imagination. And I think this idea of imagination is quite it can be often. I think imagination has a connotation of fiction, or inventing a reality, but actually I think the imagination is something very personal, and I feel that, like, I find Zoom quite an intimidating space often. I really hate it. I really detest the Zoom meetings, and the fact that you're suddenly spotlighted and you're everybody's looking at you. It's quite an intimidating thing. But using Zoom's tools, like the virtual background, and playing with the space, playing with this kind of virtual space that you have, that you can play around with. It's really playful, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to actually do a performance on Zoom. It's the first time I've ever done a performance on Zoom. I was petrified of doing it, to be honest, because I was like, how is this going to work? It's so flat, it flattens everything. And then I thought, okay, maybe there could be a projection behind, but then you wouldn't be able to see it properly. And I feel that, yeah, there's a lot of room for play, and I think that's a really important thing about imagination. It's like the playfulness, and and the fact that it's not a background, it's not a virtual background. It's like creating an immersive world, which I feel that there's so much scope for that with Zoom.
I would like to stress the point of imagination. In older days, like say the 18th century philosophical thought, the imagination is actually a power tool which belongs to the mind. It is very quickly now being determined to be part of fiction, and it resides in a specific area of our understanding and meaning of it, but it is actually within us quite a powerful engine. And this is what I was saying in the beginning, that this powerful engine actually, it kind of was reminiscent in the mood or the kind of setting that I received, which was no longer flat. I was actually able to dive into the mood because it was diffused. It was not clear, that was what the liveness was for me today.
Yeah, for me, I think even though we were online and behind this screen, the energy and this feeling of the presence and communication with the audience, I think for me was so present. Even though I couldn't see my audiences, I kind of hold this space of energy and communication with the audience. Yeah, which I really appreciated. I was thinking of, for instance, this online performance right now versus pre-recorded, which I believe it wouldn't make such a exchange of the presence of the audience and the person who is performing in front of it. Yeah. And also there were these three layers of the projection: the physical space we had in background, and the physical presence that we have in the performance space. And for me, it was kind of uniting all these fragments of this displacement of the screen and the people from different part of the world. So we are united in this larger screen in Zoom.
Yeah. Great, Leila, thank you. Just to quickly ask Tatiana at this point, maybe, I'm imagining what would have happened at this very moment, you know, having seen your video. Maybe you could give us just a short and brief insight as to how you would have.
Sure, I apologize a lot. You know, I'm quite sick, so I had to cancel the very last moment. The performance itself involved endurance component. So I'm submerging my head into the water as much as I can stay under the water, right, with the background of this projection. And I get out from the water and my face stays, right? So kind of getting back to my breath and looking at the person, right? So for me, the idea was to really juxtapose this idea of hiding myself in the video, right? Having the fragments of my personality, and the statement for the performance reads the idea of how we present ourselves online, right? How do we exist in the social networks, and how we fragment parts of our identities, parts of our living existence networks. So we never really fully show ourselves, right? We create this strange image, right? Frankenstein of sorts, right? Where we have these bits and pieces of who you are. So for me, it was really interesting to play with this idea of not showing my face, not showing who I am, juxtaposing it with actually showing my face, right? And going through this process of endurance. So it was very much also linked to the experience of, you know, what we are going through for the last year and a half, right? So catching on breath, right? Suffocating, catching on breath, right? Coming back to life. And that was the idea. So the performance itself was very minimal. It was really the endurance component. So, you know, staying under the water for 1 minute, coming out, staying in the water, coming out.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Great. Fantastic. And what I was saying earlier also, and this may be another thought to consider, is, and Leila reminded me, and I think it was due to the introduction at Charlesgate, that Leila in some of her work is anticipating the public to complete the work. You know, how does that work here? If we are extending our idea towards the interactivity of a live performance, you know, how would you solve that? That would be something of an open question for the future or for further work.
Excuse me, Dagmar, do you want me to answer, or just you said it's open question?
No, it's I picked it up from your comments, but it reaches into this idea of how the imagination works, you know, in the content of our presentations, but also in the content of, can I imagine, you know, with my work, with my idea, an interactive moment, you know.
Right.
Maybe Alexandra, I don't know if that touches towards your work, because I've seen your work being interactive in some instances. Would you like, do you have a comment for that? You need to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yes, also it is hard to make the definition for me, because we need a free imagination to be able to understand pictures and performances. But for me, this performance, of course, it is. I think that the people need to have a knowledge and to much more to read my symbols. And for me, it was, this performance was really in this 3 dimension, because I was second time working with the video. And first video which I was making was in Norway, 2019. And then I was repeating such images to this work, but then I recognized that this background of video can be also must to have own story. And this both story, the story which I tell with a bride and performance, in performance, physical performance, and then coming the concurrence of this video screening. And then I was made this, what is for me important. Also for me was important to give this abstract story of this woman, of this crazy bride, but this video, I was thinking about it because it is for me just a new level to work, because it is to give this video, giving performance much more, this is much more rich and much more complicated, but it is very good, I think, for also for public. What is the imagination in this? So I expect that the people which are looking at have their own imagination and can feel it, but it is not always they can, because we have a lot of people which speak with other symbols. And if you are going to other country, they can not really understanding this what you want to tell. It is also different, but I don't know if in my concept of this story will be understanding in other continents, for example, so not telling countries. But I have sort of experience from India to Africa that not always the people, we are communicated all in English, but it is not that we are understanding as really. So this is my so I want only to tell that I'm working with composer, because I was also not sure if this music, I have this in Buenos Aires, this experience that I make performance and forgot to put in music. And then I looked at some right on my ekran on computer, and I was thinking this happened the same to me again. Then I was asking if everyone was here this music, and music is from French composer, which I work since 1 year. This Ange Manique from Lyon, and she is a violin in Lyon Philharmonica. And she work also with pleasure like sound artist. And some images are from, which from screen, from projection, are from Jonathan Thrope. He's from Cardiff, actually one also British musician and graphic artist. So we put it together because I also working with him for Netherlands performance and Norway performances. So it is, but idea is mine, costume are mine, movement are mine, and so on. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexandra, for coming. Great.
Can I just follow on from that? Because it's really, I think it's really nice often when the meaning of a performance or of any sort of visual experience is unclear, and it kind of enters in as soon as you put it out there in front of an audience, it kind of enters into this sort of space of I don't know, unclarity, and it's really nice that something which has a very specific and personal meaning for the artist who has made it, but then it kind of enters into this new space where it can be reinterpreted and reimagined, and I think in a way it's really nice. I think a lot of what's been said during this talk is, we've kind of by coming together into this space where we're all connecting, we're creating this sort of space which, if this was real life, this might be a gallery space, or this might be a room or a theater or whatever, but this space is sort of this virtual space, yet still we understand it as a space that we're all together in the same place. And it's like this coming together, and then it sort of disperses, and all these different interpretations can be read, and everybody would read it in their own way. And I just think that's something really cool, really special. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kimball. Maybe Charles, do you see something in the chat that we could relate to?
You noticed. Well, yes, Kaiki Tussaman, who performed yesterday, was it?
No, on
has,
Friday.
has put this lovely thing in the chat. Thank you for this very powerful day of this festival. With some performances, I felt like wanting to be there with you, performing live in the space, transcending space to witness space. And I'll just chip in here to say that really, there were points today. If I take that, there were points in time and in perception and in imagination. There, and also through the generality, the totality. Really, we pondered this yesterday about achieving the kind of emotional condition that we all experience doing live transitstation or live collaborative performance events. Today, I was totally blown away, frankly. You know, the quality of the performance was so good. I thought that the levels of imagination, and I would really insist that imagination is not some passive sort of thing, you know. It doesn't just sort of filter along like this. It's something you have to do something about. And I thought all of you did an absolutely terrific job. The kind of, and I mean this in a good sense, the Baroque, Dimple's Baroque setting for her performance was really so intriguing. And I have benefit of having seen seen everything. Jung-un's dance performance with projection yesterday, paired with Dimples, for example, what would have been, in my mind anyway, I was in a proper transit station. The only thing that was missing was the scaffolding. And we've got the scaffolding of technology with us, you know, instead. And maybe the hospitality as well. We need to figure out how to have a nice salad and a cup of coffee. Let's see if there are any other messages here. Sarah Risborough, is it pronounced? Thank you everyone for very powerful performances. I feel it's vital that live art maintains a presence through Zoom, internet and social media platforms to reveal the illusions that we are projected as being out there and bring attention back to what is really present. She continues, and I agree with Kimball, as a culture we're taught what the colonial imagination is. We collectively have very little space to discover the nature of imagination for ourselves.
Yeah, I suppose that's where, you know, having this space to reflect is such a powerful thing, you know. And I think one of the really nice things about art, really, I'd say really art in general, is that it doesn't have to say something specifically. It's this kind of non-directed provocations which really, you know, allow this space to imagine and to reimagine.
Non-directed provocations.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's like not saying how it is. It's not telling you what to think. It just, you present something, you put it out there, and you allow it to be to filter and to sort of be absorbed and rediscovered.
And I think you're right, this intensity of all these 3 days really was delivered. And I'm very, very grateful and humble about all these presentations and being able to witness that. I would like to close at this moment, unless there are hot questions from anyone, and celebrate the pilot of this project, which is Christian Niva. He has directed and navigated us over 3 days, and before and after, through the mechanisms of technologies and things that we may understand and may not ever understand. And some people do understand, and they hit the right buttons at the correct time. So thank you so very much. And thank you, Charles, and thank you every single participant and everyone who was there with us for 3 days. So much. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Transit.
wanted to just jump in and say thank you so much, Dagmar and Charles, for such an excellent organization. It was so smooth, so perfect, and all your help was just really priceless. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
very
thank,
welcome.
thank you, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.